and welcome to Helm & Associates Professional Development Guide training. The purpose of this training video is to introduce the Professional Development Guide, or PDG. It is one of the reports that you receive after a person completes the Helm questionnaires at our website. It's a report that is intended to be given to the employee. Employees want to know, how did I do on those questionnaires that I took? The Development Guide report gives you a way to answer that question. The training today will cover the following: the purpose of the Professional Development Guide, or PDG. The PDG report is arranged and what information it includes, and general suggestions about how to use the PDG with employees. The report is based on the responses that the person makes to the Helm questionnaires. The questionnaires measure job-related behavior preferences that are based on universal personality characteristics. Before we talk about the PDG in detail, I want to remind you about the benefits of the PDG for both your company and for the employee. PDG provides feedback to the person about how he or she did on the Helm questionnaire. Second, the PDG shows the employee how to improve effectiveness on the job by using his or her strengths. Third, the PDG provides tips, tools, and techniques for improving effectiveness on the job that are customized for that person and based on his or her answers to the Helm questionnaires. The PDG gives the manager an organized, constructive way to talk with an employee about where to focus his or her efforts to be more effective at work. Let's dive inside a PDG report to see what's there. This is the cover of the Professional Development Guide report. It's delivered to you as a digital file which can be viewed on any electronic device or can be printed. The contents, and we'll come back to that in a moment. The information is the same in every PDG report. It explains the purpose of the report and answers some of the most basic questions about it. The report contains feedback about what the person said about their preferences on questionnaires. The report is not about predicting how the person will always behave. It's about how to improve professional effectiveness. Effort to improve. And the purpose of the PDG is to show the employee how a commitment to professional growth benefits him or her most of all. The next section of the report is how to use this guide, which goes through a step-by-step process for using the PDG. Keep it in mind. Review information. With at least 3 people who know you well, you may be surprised at what you hear. Write your goals and your progress regularly. Next, come to Section 3 of the report, where we begin to give direct feedback about what the person said on the Helm questionnaires. We start out by explaining that their preferences are reported to them in work-related behavior clusters: work style, management style, deal with people, problem solving, and toughness. What do we mean by behavior clusters? Let's step away from the PDG report for just a moment. A behavior cluster is a way of looking at job-related areas of behavior that are important for successful professional importance. Now, it's true that behavior on the job is affected by many factors, and one of those factors is personality-driven behavior preferences. For example, for the management style behavior cluster, the underlying preferences are trust and teamwork, assertiveness, charge, and organization and planning. Questionnaires focus on the effect that underlying personality preferences have on job-related performance, in this case, in the management style behavior cluster. Let's turn now to the explanation page at the beginning of Section 3. By understanding what the person has said about his or her underlying preferences, the person can focus on making changes that will improve his or her effectiveness on the job. Next on this page, we explain that the numbers in blue, 1, 2, or 3, that they will see on the behavior cluster pages show them where to start in their effort to improve effectiveness on the job. That is, 1 indicates the most important thing or things to begin addressing, 2, second most important, and 3 are strengths. Let's read for a moment now to the table of contents. You see that each of the 5 behavior clusters listed here, work style, management style, deal with people, problem solving, and mental toughness. For example, let's look at the management style behavior cluster on page 7 to see how the person's results are presented in every behavior cluster, how the behavior cluster page leads the person to customized tips, tools, and techniques for improving professional effectiveness. This is management style behavior cluster page. On each behavior cluster page, we provide a definition of that behavior cluster. We talked on the introduction page about the blue numbers. We remind the reader here of what 1, 2, and 3 mean. For example, the behavior preferences tagged below with a 1 are those that suggested concern based on this person's responses to the Helm questionnaires. The ones in this sample report mean that trust and team orientation and take charge are not particular strengths for this person, and he or she should start their improvement effort by focusing on them. We stress throughout this report, by the way, that it is not necessary or even desirable for a person to try to address all areas at one time. Pick the most important, or the troubling, or the most interesting, and start there. For each underlying work-related preference that contributes to this behavior cluster, there is a brief description of what this person's responses suggest are his or her preferred behaviors on the job. Here we trust and team orientation, assertiveness, take charge, and organization and planning. The tools buttons are active links if you are looking at the digital file, or page numbers if you have printed the report, detailed suggestions for growth that specifically address this preference. Let's pick one of these preferences, trust and team orientation, and on details, to see how it takes the user to the detailed suggestions for growth for that preference. At the top of the page, there are active links and page numbers that will take the reader back to the management style page or to dealing with people page. Underlying preferences may affect more than one behavior cluster area. If so, there will be more than one link here. Detail about what this person said about his or her preferences with respect to trust and teamwork are provided. Remember, this information is based on how this person answered questions on the Helm questionnaires. Specific, pragmatic, and easy-to-use suggestions for how this person can use their innate trust and teamwork preferences to be more effective on the job are provided. There are important points to remember about the suggestions for growth pages. First, the content suggestions and tips are customized for this person. So the information is always presented in constructive language so that the person can focus on information without being distracted by defensiveness or denial. Let's turn briefly to the table of contents page. I highlighted the 14 underlying personality characteristics that are reported in the PDG. Each underlying preference has its own page with description, suggestions, and tools that are uniquely prepared for this person. We end on a positive note, and so the next section of the PDG report is a list of this person's strengths as indicated by his or her responses to the Helm questionnaires. Each item includes a brief description what his or her responses suggest the person's preferred work-related strengths will be. The last section of the PDG is the action plan. What's written down gets done, and so we provide a way for a new employee to develop an action plan for making improvements to performance. The action plan can be self-administered, or you can incorporate it into coaching or mentoring with the employee. We'll talk in a few minutes about how to do that, but first, let's look at the action plan itself. We start focusing the employee's attention on his or her strengths and engaging the person's commitment to the process by asking them to think about how to use those strengths. Now, help the person develop a strategy for improving their weak areas. Make a list of the things he or she needs to improve, and then come up with specific actions to take to address them. These are concrete and measurable. For example, instead of saying, "I will be more reliable," the person should create specific goals, such as, "I will be 10 minutes early for every work shift," or "I will get weekly reports done one day early." These are examples of turning a general goal into actionable steps. We finish with a promise and a signature line to encourage the employee to take the process seriously and to make a sincere commitment to the effort. Remember, what gets written down gets done. Let's now about how to incorporate the professional development guide in your company's coaching or mentoring activities. The professional development guide is adaptable. It is used, for example, in performance reviews, goal setting, and one-on-one coaching. It is a tool for the employee to help the person become more self-aware about how underlying personal preferences affect behavior on the job. I recommend that the PDG be given to the employee soon after he or she is hired, or in the case of current employees, soon after the HELM questionnaires are completed. The PDG is most likely to be used effectively by the employee if you explain its purpose, how it's arranged, and how to use it in a confidential setting. Urge the employee to make copies of the action plan template so it can be used as often as needed. You'll need help turning general suggestions or goals into specific action steps. That's where some familiarity with the person's on-the-job behavior will help you make practical suggestions, help you focus him or her on actionable goals. In whatever ways you incorporate the PDG into your company's coaching or mentoring, remember these basic guidelines. Treat the person with respect and dignity. Don't personality preferences as labels or nicknames. Your interest is with helping the person strengthen his or her job performance. Compare one person with another in terms of personality preferences. And also remember that the PDG contains confidential information. Don't discuss it with other people unless there is a valid, job-related reason to do so. Find more detailed information about the Professional Development Guide in our Performance Profile Assessment Training Workbook. Web address of that document, and it's also available on request from our office. Remember also that you can always call us with questions. There's no charge for the call. Our phone number and contact information are on the screen. Thank you for your time today.